always exciting. We've got so many matches. Just StarCraft all day long, and it starts right here. In the bottom right-hand corner of the map, Neo Humanity, our Red Terran player from Dragon Phoenix Gaming, Cure.
And his opponent and teammate, playing here with the Blue Zerg drones, we're looking at DarK's main hatchery.
Cure's like, teammate, how about my proxy racks made SCVs on the map? Neo Humanity is a weird map, and as talking to some of the pros, they in general feel like this map pool is actually most balanced in TVZ. They think this is a matchup which, especially in best of 3, you get a Terran map, you get a Zerg map, and you get a very even map. Neo Humanity is a bit of a weird one. It can be very campy, it can go very late game, and that can benefit different players depending on how they like to play. And Q's just like, you know what, I just want to get out here, I want to put some pressure on, and I want to catch you off guard, you know, coming straight in with this proxy racks. And there's so many places you can proxy on this map. It's so hard for DarK to get lucky with that first Overlord and truly spot this. We'll see what he can do, because, I mean, this is going to be an extremely late scout, if anything. And even then, I mean, the best you can do here as DarK is, hey, I'm going to see it's 2 racks and not 3 racks, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. This Overlord, at the very least, seems to be heading in the right direction. I do think he's going to catch the tail end of one of those 2 barracks. It's important that he figures this out, though, since he did go for a hatchery first. First Marine, however, is already coming up. DarK at this point, well, he finally figures it out. He's going to have to fire up a couple of defensive units here as well.
Yeah, he doesn't get confirmation of anything bar the fact that the first Rax is there. Whoa, he's going to pull a lot of drones to fight against this. So he wants to hardcore shut this down. Against the 2 Rax, obviously the Terran player back at home will typically take a gas, get a factory. They have a more decent macro follow-up. He's hidden the drones so he can come in for the surround, and now this Marine doesn't have an easy way out. Well, that's very cute, because you've just separated the first Marine from its friends, and obviously that's so much harder than play. It's a lot of lost mine time for DarK. This needs to be a full shutdown, and so far, it's looking just like that.
Yeah, he wants to prevent that bunker from coming up. The Marine also not going to be able to escape, but this is also about a dozen drones that aren't mining at this phase of the game. And no cancel. Yeah, so those minerals are now gone. Significant income advantage here for Cure for now, but the most important thing here for DarK is that he holds this with minimal losses, right? Those drones can go back to mining eventually. Now, he needs to not forget about that Overlord. Make sure that you don't end up losing that.
There's a lot of dead ass space there, though, right? So
yeah, he's going to be able to fly straight through the main.
Yeah. Gonna get scouting straight through here as well, so DarK confirms, hey, there's a factory, there's a gas, this is just 2 racks. As the Marines will start to pressure, but the Queen can go back and forth, and you just don't want to let this bunker get up. It's unnecessary to let it go up. If the Marines can force this to come up, then that's brilliant. Here come the drones to make sure we can cancel this one. As the SCV goes down, that should be all we need. Pull the drones back, there's no threat of this getting finished, and as soon as that's the case, again, you don't need to keep those drones pulled off the lines.
First Queen, by the way, not laying down a tumor, not injecting, but there's only a single Queen available, so not a lot of transfusions. A couple more drones end up going down here. Additional Zerglings do pop out of the cocoons. Good control here, though, from Cure.
I'm starting to wonder if, you know, maybe that early kind of drone pull was a bit too much, because the Marines are doing well. That was even a decent fight from DarK. He went in from the left as the unit spawned from the right. It looks as though he is just about going to keep this under control, but he has to keep rebuilding Lings. And every time you're rebuilding Lings, that's less drones that you're building. It's less, you know, security you're creating for yourself, and Cure gets a better chance to follow up. The Cure, who is just now getting ready to build an expansion on the low ground, and he is going to choose to go low ground. He knows that DarK's committed a lot early, so he can't possibly have mined gas. So it's a really smart kind of move from Cure, because this isn't just a, oh, I hope he doesn't have speed. He knows he can't have speed with the amount of drones he pulled to defend initially.
All right, so I think this game is going to slow down for at least a little bit, as now those 2 barracks are flying all the way back home as well. You know what I find kind of funny? Most of the pro players over the last couple of weeks have been hiding as many games as possible. A lot of the pro players don't want to share any strategies leading into the World Championships, but for some reason, DarK's been almost farming online tournaments. I've been seeing him in practically everything. There are tons of games available where he's also opening up with a spawning pool first. Right, so it's a little bit of a gamble in game number 1 right here from Cure. Ended up working out, I would say, decently well. Probably not exactly what he was hoping for. But if it would have been a pool first, right, that would have been a disaster.
Yeah, pool first has got shut down so heavily as we have the attempted delay of a 3rd base here. The Queen does have a transfusion available, so it is kept alive. And obviously, again, you're just taking advantage of the fact that you know he can't have link speed yet. So you're on the map, you're active, you're just trying to force things, slow things down on the Zerg side. The more you can do that as the Terran, the better of a position you're in. That's a very late 3rd base for the Zerg, and that's where you're going to catch up a little bit, right? Your natural is late, their 3rd is late. The 8-ish work a difference once the double mule is online is not too big of a deal. So overall, I think Kyo's done a good enough job of keeping this game close despite not breaking through that natural in the early stages.
Yeah, we'll have to see what he decides to do on the back of this. He's going for a lot of Hellions. There's not that many Queens available just yet. At least he scouts right now that there are...
Armor.
Well,
What if he just drops an armory and goes for like a little bit of a cheeky Hellbat?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily mind it.
Yes, 2 more barracks. I didn't see the 2 more barracks on the... Well, obviously, they were just freaking flying home.
Yeah, so
cancel the armory logo. That's a terrible idea.
Well, I mean, he could still mix it in if he really wants to, but it would be like it would
really catch DarK off guard. But obviously, it slows down because you're soon ready to start stim, and that's so much gas investment, which obviously then an armory would just take away from. So
yep,
yeah, obviously the T-Rex going home means you can essentially just make this into a 2-1-1 instead. And with a 2-1-1, there's a lot of power in that.
That does mean, however, that for the time being, it's just going to be a couple of those Hellions driving around. Maybe a little bit of Liberator harassment as well, but none of these things aren't things that DarK has dealt with literally thousands of times. So he's happily macroing up right now, looking to take his 4th base as well as he's mining out those golden minerals in the back of his natural expansion. This is a relatively safe base to take, and while a lot of players have been mentioning that it's incredibly difficult to properly attack on a map like Neo Humanity, we'll have to see if Cure can figure something out here.
It is interesting because the initial bases you take as DarK are quite set back, you know, especially the 4th base he's taken. It's quite hard to get up there as a Terran player. It's good harassment, get some drones. The problem is, taking bases further down the line, you do start to expand forward, and that's where the Terran can push into you much more easily. And of course, if your base is set back, it's the same for the Terran player. The Terran player can sit back and, you know, have that defensive setup to just build up into later game if they want to. Or the Terran can push their base very aggressively forward and be like, cool, a starting point for all of my attacks, which is also something Terrans like. So it's a weird map, and I often think that weird maps actually benefit Terrans in a lot of ways because they have that utility. Lib goes down, at least claims the life of another queen, and 3 more drones died, so it's been a good killing of workers so far. And I really feel like this upcoming attack from Kua has got potential to do something, right? I mean, extra racks going down, engineering base.
There's no, well, the lair just started up, but there's obviously no Baneling speed, there's no 1-1 upgrades. It's just going to be Zerglings and Queens here. Now, they can certainly clean this sort of attack up, but you need to make sure you have enough of them.
Yeah, but you've got 53 to 24 army supply with Hellions as well. Like, if this was just a baseline 2-1-1, Lings, Queens, brilliant. And look at DarK, a little bit panicked, double Baneling nest going down. This is going to be really difficult. If Kua just goes with these first medevacs and Marines and he has the Hellions to back it up, even with a few slow Banelings, like, there's not necessarily what you need here to defend. Kua has a massive timing on his hands, and he's starting to move across the map to take advantage of it. There's even a siege tank mixed in here. This looks so good for Kua, even just with Stim being his only upgrade.
And this is a complete misread as well from DarK, who went for a 4th base, but on top of that also a macro hatchery. He's still making drones, and now suddenly Kura pulls the trigger. He's certainly going to be able to take out this base, but I don't think he's going to, well, I don't hope at least that he's going to drive back home after this, because he really can get more work done. Question is, does he realize it?
He needs to ask himself, hey, why was this so easy to kill?
Yes.
Do you not really have anything? And he needs to test the waters a little bit because he has such a timing on his hands. Yeah, okay, denying the 4th base is great and denies some of the drones that DarK has built here. But in general, there's just more to be done. He's on an army supply lead. This Banelings are slow for a while longer. The upgrades are still 0-0 apiece. I'd love to see Kua just stay on the offensive just that little while longer, but maybe he just goes back, regroups, and then goes with 1-1 and hits with that timing instead.
Yeah, maybe you're also a little bit concerned at this point for like a full-on counter-attack here from DarK, and at this point I think he's been relaxing for a little too long, right? I mean, if he's camping out here for too much longer, but at some point he's going to get surrounded.
That's true, but also this map's quite nice for like continuing the push in slowly because there's a lot of kind of different ledges. Now one of these Baneling nests goes down.
That is Baneling nest too, by
200 IQ! He'll never expect me to still have Baneling speed.
Actually insane. This could be a misread. Zerglings, I think, should be setting themselves up for a surround here. No, instead they're going to go across the map. This can certainly do a lot of damage. There are reinforcements in that wall. Medevac over here gets pushed back as well. DarK is still DarK, man. This guy's dangerous.
The thing is, right now, DarK knows straight-up fight isn't good for him. But by killing the economy of Kua, you slow him down, you really hinder him, and you give yourself a chance to stay in this, because your own economy is great if you just survive long enough and keep Kua busy.
Yeah, I wonder if Kura at this point assumes that Baneling speed is ever going to finish, man. Like, you would not expect it for another couple minutes. This could actually blind fire him pretty badly.
I'd be so, like, annoyed if I'm Kura, like, I'm taking this fight and suddenly Baneling speed kicks in, like, halfway through. I killed the freaking Baneling nest, bro! That's not fair!
You thought it was a mistake, Wardy. You thought he was panicking. I can't believe this. 2-2 even so fired up as well, by the way, for DarK, who He's playing this like he's in a comfortable position, right? But I've got a feeling he's up with his back against the wall. Yet his economy is killer. If he can stabilize here for a couple more minutes, he's going to be fine.
Hive on the way, man. Like, he is. He's not slowing down, like you say. He does not feel as though he's got his back up against the wall. And if you didn't get to that Hive, especially in, you know, one Viper or two, maybe get rid of some of the tank play, he should crush this army realistically, as long as he doesn't get overwhelmed before then. And that is the threat. You put too much money into tech, and that means that Kure can obviously punish from there. Yeah, cool. The 10.5-minute help at timing up into the natural expansion.
I actually like it, though. Like, those Hellions super helpful. A couple of them do get cleaned up. But those Banelings on the other side of the map. Okay, I was going to see it. Did they get dealt with? A massive Zergling counterattack as well. Good defense here so far from Kure, considering he didn't see this until the last second.
That's kind of what he needs. Like, he does lose 7 SCVs, but getting rid of a lot of that Ling Bane efficiently and not letting it run away at least makes DarK pay for that attack and pay for that damage, and that gives him the chance to still maybe overwhelm with army across the other side. Big thing, I think, by the way, as well, yeah.
I was wondering about that, if he was going to go Viper or 2, or if he was going to go straight into Ultras. When this Terran player is still stuck on just mostly Marines and Siege tanks, the Ultras are actually amazing. And it's not a unit I don't think that Kure is going to expect for at least another few minutes.
And 2-2 upgrades as well, by the way. Faster for DarK, which will help him to hold on to get to those Ultras as well, right? So something else just to keep in mind, and I really feel like, you know, the difficulty of just continuing to get across the map here for Kure is now really backfiring. And the supplies don't look great for DarK. A lot of the time you expect it to be a bit better for the Zerg in terms of army, right? They have a bit more, they trade inefficiently. But the moment he hits Ultras is the moment that this is, like you say, just completely one-sided.
And Kure has also been on 3CC this entire time. His 4th command center just about to finish up, but that is, relatively late in the grand scheme of things here. A couple of Vipers in the air, Adrenal Glands that's going to make those Zerglings attack even faster. Things are starting to look worse and worse right here for Kure, despite the fact that the supply count has been fine for him. Just hasn't been able to get critical amounts of damage done, right? I thought maybe those Hellbats can roast the mineral line. Maybe the drop on the left side can kill the base. But in the end, DarK cleaned all of those attacks up with relative ease, and he even dealt, a little bit of counterattack damage.
He's going to be seeing the Adrenal Glands finishing as well, which makes those Lings even more killer, really. And I'm a little bit worried for Kure, which this is what DarK does, though, right? Like, it's like, oh, you didn't kill me? Cool. Well, welcome to my game now. And even though I feel like a lot of the earlier stages were like very much so about Kure, just those few counterattacks that DarK had successfully going off does so much for him. And by no means is Kure out, but really, I'm worried about all these Ultra upgrades, the Adrenal Glands. He's still playing a mid-game where DarK is absolutely taking the stepping stone to the next level. Yeah,
in another 2 minutes, DarK is going to be pretty much unstoppable. Well, in his mind, he already is, as he throws down a parasitic bomb on both of those medevacs, and they end up going down. The thing is, though, at this point, oh my god, he gets a huge surround as well in that bio army. I was going to say, even if he kills that base, he can transfer those drones to another location. And now the Ultras should be joining the battlefield very shortly as well, and there's no answer.
Yeah, he's starting to build Marauders, right? Which is for the first time.
Yeah.
So maybe there's... But ideally, you want to start moving towards some Ghosts or so. It's just expensive to get to Ghosts when you've only just got the 4th base set up. This army should get wiped out right now. The Viper's taking a while to get the blinding clouds down.
Those Marines are stuck. They can't micro the other way since they're under the blinding cloud here. DarK absolutely smashes this army, and that's even before I feel like he's really out of control, right? I mean, now the Ultras are coming. Now 3-3 Adrenal is coming up. I mean, yeah, it's only going to get worse from here.
Kure, the one thing Kure is doing is at least maintaining an army supply lead. So if DarK just takes one bad fight into a large army, which is totally plausible, the counterattack is very powerful from Kure still. Now, DarK actually has a ton of money ready to go as well, so reinforcements can be a big thing as well. But Kure's not like, you know, at least he's got a 4th base, he's starting up a 5th, so he's thinking about the longer game. It's not like DarK is the most teched up player we've ever seen.
Well, that is true. Okay, so I think DarK is soon going to be sending, though, his massive army towards the other side of the map. Ultralisk have popped out of their cocoons, and even though they were put on a little diet, it actually makes them a little bit stronger in this particular matchup, because they can actually get into the battle already dealing a bunch of damage.
Yep, some mines going off, just going to be seeing these Marines over here. This is the sort of fight you want as Kure, though, right? I mean, you get a bunch of Lings right away. The Widow Mines start doing it kind of decently, but they blow up a bunch of Terran as well. We run to the corners. These Marines, such low HP. The Banelings are going to get good connections, and Kure's army gets wiped on this right side. The medevacs are hurting as well, because the parasitic bombs are just cleaving through them. And this army is now going to kite away on the left as DarK really is taking a better handle on this game. And DarK hitting into Infestors as well.
Yeah.
You just know that DarK's great with those Infestors. He uses them quite reliably in his games compared to a lot of other Zergs. And it's the perfect addition right now because the one thing the Terran has is the ability to kite. The Infestors and Fungal Growth completely removes that from the Terran player. And then DarK obviously can take full advantage.
Yeah, DarK, one of those guys that whenever he's in a comfortable game, right? This hasn't been a comfortable game for him, but whenever he's in a pretty sweet macro spot, he will pretty much always mix in at least 2 Infestors. Right? He'll just queue them up as soon as he gets the Infestation Pit, and oftentimes it gets a lot of damage done. This time around, he's not going to be able to get them that early, but he's going to be able to transition. Speaking of transitions, though, Cure is now getting Ghosts out, and those are absolutely critical to deal with those Ultras.
We are entering a new phase of this game where DarK is going to become the aggressor on Cure's side of the map. Instead of Cure being the aggressor on DarK's side, here comes this first attack from DarK. As he moves in, he wants to reset the economy. He wants to keep Cure from being able to build into that tech force. Let's see what he can do. The Ultras come crashing on forward. SCVs are falling all over the place. It's expensive on the Ultra camp, but the Blinding Clouds are helping them to stay in range a little while longer. We lose the base to the right-hand side, and a few of these Ultras are going to run away and come back for seconds a little later down the line.
Yeah, you brought up the resource count that DarK has, right? He's going to be able to remax really easily as he's got nearly 4,000 minerals in the bank. He's going to rinse and repeat this. And while Cure is slowly advancing as far as his tech goes, whenever he loses a base like that, well, he's obviously going to be slowing down quite a bit. And I've got a feeling that DarK is feeling a lot more comfortable right now. This game has been very hectic for like the first 15 minutes of it, but DarK seems to have stabilized.
Yeah, like I say, it's really like that swing of the Terran fights, attacks, aggressors, and now it's really DarK's turn because he wants to be across the map, able to take down the economy and slow Cure from rebuilding and slow Cure from ever being able to get to that ultra, late game army. We're going to see DarK has the choices as well on this map to go around, counterattack. I mean, this is the thing. This map becomes very small when you take this forward base as Cure. You lose this planetary here, and then you can turn this even to a flank if you want to. He's got the Fungal to support. It was looking to be big, and it is big. We get a few snipes down, but that army is hurting, and these medevacs are out of energy already, so there's not a lot of healing going on. If DarK attacks in the next minute, he's fighting into like a less than half HP bio army.
Yeah, there's probably going to be a parasitic bomb as well to finish off all of those medevacs. Well, he's looking to get it. Cure, however, kiting backwards, trying to make the best out of the situation. There's the parasitic bombs as well, taking down a lot of the medevacs. And, well, this is now Cure, yeah. Forced to GG out of this game. As game number 1 in his best of 3 series goes in favor of the Zerg.
You know what that Fungal is like? Usually you see a Fungal go down, then all the Banes and you'll just crash in. It's like, oh, the Fungal won the game. It's
a retreating Fungal.
Yeah, exactly. This was a Fungal that won the game. As he's retreating, he's like, oh, and there's no healing. So, like, actually 30 seconds down the line when I fight, you just have no way to actually battle that or combat that. A game that looked so good for Cure, and honestly, this is one of the things. It's like, you don't expect DarK to be so underprepared, and you're just like, cool, I'll take down the 4th base and stuff. But then you stop. And the problem with stopping at that point is you were set up to steamroll him. And why was that? Because he's being greedy. So all of a sudden, by slowing it down, DarK gets that full opportunity to just sort of reset and take advantage of everything he didn't put into units. And then as Cure, it's like, oh, 1 or 2 bad run-bys, and actually I'm completely resetting this game. We're playing on a large map. DarK's able to do very well. And Cure, I mean, that's one of those replays where you're like, man, I could have actually just A-clicked into his natural, and he had nothing.
Yeah. DarK, though, always looking very scary in these games, right? Even when he seems down and out, he's a fighter. He doesn't really give up, and well, it's very easy as a StarCraft player to feel like you only have maybe a 1 in 10 chance to win a game, but DarK never gives that sort of situation up. He's pretty much always trying to come up with solutions, and apparently in the previous game, the solution was to be greedy.
Well, that's why he's got one of the highest scores here.
93.
Yeah, it's high, man. It's obviously...
I feel like it's fair as well.
I think it's fair too. I cannot wait for later today because I feel like the community is going to be up in arms about some of the scores. I'm very ready to.
I know who you're talking about.
You know what as well?
So just to clarify for those of you watching, those scores that you see on the screen, they are
voted by the players.
Yes. So the players got to vote what the ranking of the other players are.
I've already heard some counter arguments to this, though. I've heard certain European players saying it's not fair because more Koreans are voted than.
Well, maybe they should have voted.
Well, that's what I said. I turned around, I was like, "Well, did you vote?" He's like, "Well, no." It's like, well, what did you expect? Regional bias coming in from the players. Turns out it's not just the, the community that's sometimes a little bit biased to say.
Are you suggesting the Koreans just added to 5 points in every rating to every one of their friends?
Yeah, Koreans are the best, man. Is in the bottom right-hand side, having a tough time in this series. It is going to be our Red Terran player looking to bounce back. Cure.
And his opponent in the opposite corner of Gresvan, winning game number 1, he is DarK. What do you think of this map, Wardy?
So when I first saw this map, I was like, man, this map is so big. But actually, like bases to bases, this map is not so bad. So this one actually comes out to be quite nice for Terrans, being able to push up through the middle, hard for the Zergs to flank sometimes. Because at first sight, I'm like, big Zerg, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like the bases also feel spaced out, right?
Yes, but realistically, it's actually quite hard, I think, to take further bases as Zerg. Like I say, if you position well on this map, you can just do a lot, and there's not really like a ton of open space for the Zerg to really like wrap around and surround you. You know, you've got to go like a very long way out of your way to set up a surround. And if you're active as the Terran, that's not easy. But if you have the information as to where the Zerg is moving to, where they're trying to flank you from, you have a lot of time to prep and set up and take advantage of that even. So, yeah, this map definitely, I think, would probably have been Cure's pick, I would say, coming into map number 2.
I would imagine Neo Humanity was definitely DarK's.
Yes. So it's kind of interesting because obviously you've got, you know, certain maps that are great for Terran, like Babylon and Dragon Scales. Royal Blood is kind of in there as well, not quite.
Here's an honorable Terran. Yeah. You love to see it.
So, yeah, you come down and we'll probably see map 3 be one of Dragon Scales and, you know, Royal Blood if we get there. So, yeah. This is what I mean by this map pool, because I feel like going from Neo Humanity to Gresvan to, like, a Dragon Scales or so doesn't really feel bad on either side, right? Like, I don't feel like we're like, oh, yeah, the Zerg map as much as, like, we have been in the past. In best of threes especially, I feel like this map pool really, honestly, pretty okay for the TVZ matchup.
Yes, of course, in a best of 3, both players get to have 2 vetoes. They take turns and then eventually end up with 3 maps, since we have 7 maps in the tournament map pool. Either way, nothing all too crazy right here in the early game, as DarK is setting himself up for a nice little macro game, and the same can be said for Cure, who's now building 2 orbital commands. Yeah,
he went CC first, right? So, you know, why not? Sometimes
we've seen quite a few 2-base pushes, right? Which is
well, yeah, because you're basically just being as greedy as possible, and that powers up the 2 bases that tiny bit more.
I wonder if that's what he's gonna do. Was it Cure that did that yesterday? Actually, I believe so.
Who did he play? He beat Spirit. Who did he beat before Spirit?
Cure. I'm gonna have to look it up real quick. Either way, we did have a nice 2-base push yesterday as well, and
you know what's crazy? Because it's like, you know, when we did the recap of the day, I was like, you know, it was like classical hits. I was like, oh, I casted that one. It's like, man, that was like the last time I was on camera yesterday. And it was like halfway through the day. It was crazy how long
those Spirit games were for forever. Yes. If you guys did not see some of the Spirit matches yesterday, there were a lot of battle cruisers. There were double base races. There were some insane Spirit matches as he took on Cure, as well as, of course, Zaun, that allowed him to qualify later on.
So this build's pretty standard so far. After the CC first, we are going to play double gas, which means we're not going to rush into a third CC, so you'll have a little bit of harassment opportunity following up from this. And DarK is going to put down a Roach Roaring, which a lot of the time...
that doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, because a lot of the time you'd be like, oh my god, a Roach Roaring. But this is just DarK. It's like, this is part of his build order. And you can probably see this by Cure going Cloak already and maybe setting up for Banshee after this. It's just such a good thing to do against DarK as, wow, these Hellions don't get in, and they will try and get some drones here. We will get 2, potential for 3, I think.
Well, now we're definitely going to see Banshees, though, because he scouted that Roach Warren. That is huge. The thing is, I wouldn't be surprised at all if DarK ends up, like, cancel. Did he just cancel it? Make me sound smart, DarK. Oh, my God, he did.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
Yeah, this is not all too surprising, right? Because now you know there's definitely going to be Banshees. I mean, there's going to be a counter against the Roaches. Early game units for Zerg that shoot up are the Queen. Yeah. Corrosive Biles, maybe?
This was never going to be like a huge commitment to Roaches from DarK, though, right? Like, you don't have the gas to build like a ton. What is painful right now is the supply block. 6 Overlords were on the way for a moment there, and just trying to dig his way out of that. Plus, then you're going to have Banshee damage, and then your Baneling Nest is maybe a bit later than it usually is, and suddenly everything's a little bit weird, right? Because you're going Baneling Nest early, and then you kind of probably need to go Lair, but then your Bane speed's not going to be starting right away.
He doesn't care.
You think? I actually think this is one of those scenarios where the Banshee just picks up 5 or 6 kills, and then Cure can just hit with the timing and do very well, even just with like the first stim or so. I think there's a lot of potential for Cure just off this opening already being weird, and DarK doing what he does best sometimes, which is shooting himself in the foot by kind of doing weird things with his build. And don't get me wrong, he's got the Roach Roaring scouted.
Look at that little dance in the natural right there. Those Zorklings are having a grand old time. Yes, that is the shortest really little rally point right over there. Anyways, Banshee number 1 ready to come in as... Oh, that's a Viking, actually. Where'd the Banshee go? Oh, why did it fly back home? Interesting.
He's afraid of roaches.
Yeah, I guess so.
He misses them, right?
Yeah.
If you miss the roaches coming across the map, your Banshee's on the wrong side, it ain't so fun, so...
I've had a look at a lot of DarK replays over the years, right? So if you compare, for example, DarK to, for example, a Serral, right? Serral will be very methodical and very strict with a lot of his building timings and his building placement. I feel like DarK is always the kind of guy who's like, yep, right about right now sounds good for a Roach Warren and a Baneling Nest. If you compare like a dozen of his replays, his timings are always going to be ever so slightly different. It seems that he knows the rules very well, but then he's like, okay, you know what? Now that I've learned the rules of StarCraft 2 and I know all of the build orders, I'm just going to do what feels right. And it's very few players that actually play the game like that.
Well, it's just a very different way of playing, right? Instead of being like, oh, at 4:35 I make my Baneling Nest, he's like, it feels like Baneling Nest time, you know? Which is, difficult to do because it's so easy to be wrong. If you try to do that
below the pro level, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a disaster.
I don't know, look, I win a lot of my games just by making up the timings.
Yeah?
I might lose about 50% of them too, but...
Oh, well, there you go. A little bit of Viking harassment. Who needs a Banshee? There you go. Sick move right there by that Viking.
Viking gets more than the Banshees.
Okay, well, the Banshees are now moving in together since they didn't see any roaches. Right now, though, there was enough time for DarK to get that lair done, and because of that, there's going to be mobile detection as well. Not a whole lot of damage done here for Cure, but, I mean, he's got the 4th command center coming up way earlier than in the previous game. There's that 2nd factory coming up as well. 1-1 upgrades are going to finish up momentarily. I've got a feeling this is a comfortable game for both players so far. Then again, I'm always... I don't know. Whenever I see DarK in his comfort zone, I feel like he's extra scary.
Yeah. Do you feel like... Yeah, I guess all the upgrades are going to finish up just about in time for DarK. I was worried initially, like, you know, first push of Cure could have been quite scary, but he just doesn't quite have the edge. So it's just going to be those kind of drops, which, you know, clean out creep and everything, that's obviously fantastic. That does a lot for you. That puts you into a good spot. He's going to do the same with the Banshees over here. You can see this is clearly his goal. It's all he's really paying attention to right now. Clean up some of this creep and make it easier for him to push across the map later on as well. So just going to continue to attack these active creep teamer pathways, and just do what he can. Just gets the active one here, but that's enough because it forces the queen to come forwards and everything, so it does just slow it down that little bit.
7.5 minute hive here coming up as well for DarK, who's not mixing in the infestors. At least he spots these banelings though. Cure that is on the retreat.
That was such a fun first person review because this is how I deal with banelings. It's like, my base is under attack. It's either 20 workers are dead or I accidentally left units there, you know? And that was one of those moments where the preparation beforehand probably allowed him to be a bit more lax on the mini-map watching. And so obviously the Banelings kind of run into the tanks before he actually notices them.
Okay, he's going to take the 4th base right there on the right side. And then he's got that, that 5th base location that is very obvious, right? Like right in between the 4th and the 3rd. He'll probably be heading in that direction shortly. A little bit of a drop here in the bottom left-hand corner. Like you said, though, this is mostly just for cleaning up that creep.
You know, this map is obviously very good for playing split map on, so if Cure just believes in kind of playing later game, which against DarK, I'm not convinced about per se, but you know, if you feel good in like a later game split map, then this is not a bad map to do that on. You've got a lot of defensive ledges and positions to hold.
Yeah, there's no shared expansion either, right?
And I mean, he's just basically playing into like CC after CC, so he is just saying, I want to play a big macro game, and DarK's going to accept that, but if Q is saying that, that kind of tells you how good a map it is to kind of sit back and turtle up on a little bit.
We have those Vipers underway as well. Even though DarK likes to go for early game aggression, he's obviously a very strong late game player as well. We're going to be able to see that coming out here very shortly. Yeah, Cure probably just going to take that style that Maru has perfected over the last year, right? Try to...
last years, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. Like the defensive style where you're mostly sitting back and morphing in those planetary fortresses and clever locations as you mess up ghosts and maybe even eventually go into mech. There's the Ultra Cavern once again, though, from DarK. A lot of Zerg seem to be favoring that Lurker play still, but Ultras are pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's one of those scenarios here where it's like, what you're gonna... If you go Lurkers, you basically have to be aggressive with Lurkers. Like, there's no need for defense because Q is not attacking you very much, right?
Yeah, true.
So just gonna go into the Ultras. That can deal if Q just tries to play big off the 2-2, which it doesn't seem like he's gonna do. And then the Ultras are obviously great to have to be able to run into bases and try and bust bases down and take, halt the economy of Q, basically. I imagine that's where this is going to go. It's definitely set up to be a long game. We get rid of a couple queens here, looking for a 3rd, forcing a lot of the transfusions to come through. Waste the energy that could have been put into Crypt Tumors.
And there's the additional factories coming up here as well for Cure. So generally speaking, Terran players like to start off with that Marine Marauder infantry-based army, then they get those ghosts going as well, and then usually, eventually, we see a transition towards Terran mech. This time around, though, we don't have... How many ghosts do we have? Do we have any?
We have, the Ghost Academy just came up, right? So
96 SCVs as well, by the way, so this is a big macro game.
Which means that as well, like, Kua, gotta be careful with having trades, right? Because Kua will be able to rebuild, but his army's never going to be huge. DarK obviously trying to really push through his choke. I don't know if you like this. I really don't think I did, because he was basically fighting through like a 2 depot gap this entire time. And yeah, when you have 95 SCVs as Kua, you probably look at this and say, well, that was a great fight for me despite a smaller army. And now I have money to rebuild with.
Yeah. And most importantly, supply as well, right? He doesn't necessarily mind using those factories right now that he put together. Either way, he's going to leave that mech transition for apparently a little bit later in this game. Well, he's going to find out a couple. He's going to find out about a couple of those burrowed Zerglings here as he tried making a command center.
Yeah. That's kind of cute, right? Just burrow, maybe you get a couple SCVs later. You have that burrow, may as well make use of it in some way, shape, or form. So,
but this is what you were talking about,
too, right? It tells you when people move forward and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But this is what you were talking about at the beginning of this particular game, where that bottom right-hand corner, it's very difficult to break for Cure, and it's 5 command centers for Terran that he can comfortably mine. Expanding from here is a little bit trickier. So either Cure is going to go up north from this position, or he's going to take that base down south. For Zerg, of course, you can just, well, connect all of the bases with creep and just mine wherever you like.
Well, you make it sound like Zerg has it easier.
Yeah, I mean, I can't play Terran for the life of me. I've tried playing Terran, it does not work for me. Zerg, though, it works a little bit easier.
That Spire starts up from DarK, by the way, so he's going to go straight into just extra kind of tech. Obviously, at some point when you play this style as DarK, you want a big switch into like broods just to have that one push where maybe the Terran's not prepared for them and maybe you can get a bit more done. Because the one thing the Lingbane Ultra Army will never really be able to do is end the game a lot of the time, right? Like, that's just so difficult to actually... It's just so difficult to actually finish the game on this. So being able to be like, oh, this is my moment, bam, 10 Broodlords, you don't really have an answer, you've been on the ropes.
Oh, here we go again, as he's ready to fight with that massive army of his. Planetary Fortress is set up over here, and that's obviously a beautiful thing that you have here as Terran. A couple of the siege tanks do fall. The Planetary Fortress also does go down. Yeah, I like this fight a little bit better than the previous one, maybe, but that's still a ton of Zerg units going down.
What's the production tab like? Because it's hard to see what was actually lost without seeing the production tab and what's been replaced, right? 90 Lings, 120 Lings, and 4 Ultras. So a lot went down. DarK supply never shifted, but he did spend a lot of money in getting set to go again. The thing is, as long as QS stays around that supply, which is at now, like 180-ish, 170-ish, is very easy to bounce back from. And that's basically going to be the name of this game, right? This is TVZ. We know what late game TVZ looks like. The Zerg tries to break the Terran, and hopefully they shut down enough economy and deny the bases long enough that they can overwhelm the Terran eventually one time can't rebuild. Meanwhile, the Zerg on the Terran side is just a survival game, right? Survive SimCity, make it difficult for the Zerg, and just keep rebuilding and hoping that you can make the fights as efficient as possible, perfect your composition, and go from there.
Yeah, it's like a campaign mission right now, right?
Yeah.
Survive the Zerg onslaught for 30 minutes. Might end up winning the game. I would have liked this start a little bit better from DarK if it was 4cc Terran, but at this point, look at that Planetary Fortress set up right next to that third base command center. A lot of Banelings, though, rolling into a mineral line, and that is going to be an expensive set of losses right there for the Terran. But he's got so many orbital commands that he can easily replace this.
I actually don't even mind it that much for Kira, right?
No.
Because that was a lot of Banelings used, and he does lose 37 SCVs, which is a lot, but he still has 60, and he had a bit of money in the bank, so he's not immediately in trouble, and he'll have a chance to replace a few SCVs if he deems that necessary, which apparently he does right now. It was an expensive one for DarK. You know, resource loss is going to be stacking up against him, and again, that's just kind of how this matchup works, but these fights all kind of lead into each other. As we're just going to go again. This is nice because there's a lot of tanks that are just on their own, so the Link should do decently here.
Yep.
Hellbat's trying to get involved. No, not going to attack. Okay, cool. All right, guys. It's okay. I mean, 16 more SCVs down. At this point as well, I actually kind of like just the orbital commands on like the outer bases because you can just lift them up against the Banelings so they don't get blown up as well. It's kind of nice. I mean, obviously maybe this one's nice so just a few Lings don't hit it, but yeah, kind of fun. As Kua, as he loses SCVs, obviously can build even more army than before too, which makes it even harder for DarK to attack into him.
Yeah, so the reason why DarK can currently just replenish this army so easily and keep remaking it is because he's sitting at 100 drones here for some time already. Obviously, the minerals on this map are not infinite, but DarK is not looking to run out anytime soon. And you already brought up that Broodlord transition, right? He's going for Infestors right now. I think we are going to be seeing those coming up here very shortly for the Zerg. Obviously, the Ghosts are going to be pretty good, but ideally you do want to mix in a couple of Thors as well and make sure you have something a little more reliable against those Broods.
Something that can just stand there and take a few Broodling shots especially and just kind of put some damage out. Really goes a long way.
Accidental Swarm Host still using that one as well.
And just gonna force some friendly fire on some SCVs, you know? Yeah, I saw that coming up in reduction alongside 4 Infestors. It's like, well, we're gonna see everything this
If you have 600 APM, you may as well.
It's just incredible how frequently the accidental Swarm Host is made. Like, I feel like we never see like an accidental anything else, just the Swarm Host.
Yeah.
And just the one, like we never hold the key down long enough to make more than one either.
These guys have very, very fast key repeat rates, right? So you'd imagine you accidentally make like 7. That'd be kind of rough, right? At least we'd be talking about it a lot more at that point. But I like the fact that he's still utilizing a little mistake that he's made. Anyways, Cure. He can now start contesting these bases, right? Since they essentially became next-door neighbors here. The Broodlords are coming up, but this expansion at the very least is now somewhat harassable.
DarK doesn't really have much of a bank, which is kind of scary because if he takes a fight right now, rebuilding is not really on the cards. You can see Cure is the one with more of a bank ready to rebuild with. With the larger army, I mean, to me this is all stacked up against DarK. Here are the Broodlords though, and this is kind of his play, right? Like, are you prep for Broodlords, Cure? A couple Thors on production, not here yet. The Ghosts are going to cloak up. We've got the Infestors to try and keep the Ghosts away. And so far, it's doing a good job of keeping the Ghosts back. And now the Balins get to engage in, and these Ghosts have not had a chance to snipe at all. Cure pulling back, but DarK the one losing the supply. And again, rebuilding is tough for him. He doesn't have, especially gas in the bank at the moment.
You see the missile turret guy getting a Broodlord?
Yeah, man.
That guy is a legend. There's the Ghost, though, sniping a couple of those Broods as well in the retreat. Getting quite a bit of damage done as well. But yeah, these fights are starting to look better and better for Cure as time goes on. Now, don't get me wrong, there's still a chance, of course, that he's going to accidentally miss-micro this and can become a disaster, but things are starting to look up right here for the Terran.
Balin's going to crush down this upper right base, but honestly, I mean, only 4 SCVs and that base goes down, sure, but it was kind of a lot of Balins. Yeah, again, it's the expense that DarK is spending to be able to do all of this, and this is just a balancing act of, you know, resources. Now,
free Ghost.
Obviously, one of the big things is that DarK essentially has one of Cure's bases, right? Because he's got this top right base and the bottom left base on the other side of the map. Cure can't really let DarK mine from both of those because then an entire base that was not just meant to be yours, but is then mined by DarK. Like, it's fair enough if you don't mine a base, but if DarK mines that base, that's like a 2-base differential in the game. It's very hard to trade that well. So there's going to be a focus of Cure, and obviously it's going to be happening up here because this is where he's trying to defend other bases too. As he's just on the run. Thors just continue to pull on back, trying to get towards other siege tanks, get the Liberators set up as well. The Balin's just about reaching the Ghost, but not enough of them to get any kills. And now it's the Broodlords that will go on the retreat as Cure comes back forward.
Man, the Terran versus Zerg matchup can be so insane, right? We're now 18 minutes into this game. DarK has been attacking for the last 13 minutes, at least that's what it feels like. And yet, we don't really have a very obvious advantage here for either of these two players. I like this position better for DarK earlier, but as time goes by, I think this position gets, well, better and better for Cure, although he needs to be very careful. He doesn't have a lot of money. He's now lost that command center up there like 7 times, it feels like, and he just does not have that much to actually replenish this army with.
I feel like I liked it a bit more for Cure like a minute or 2 ago because he had the bank and the army, and now DarK has like a bit of a similar bank, but it's always scary to just not see the Zerg with truly a bank set up, right? Like, he's not in full control of this game with like 3k, 2k at any point in time. It is a case of just trying to rebuild as these spores are pushing forward to try and push the libs back, and he is denying this top right base, which is a problem for Cure. If he can't mine from that for a long period of time, that is something that could potentially lose in the game.
Yeah, we saw that snipe right there getting cancelled because the Ultralisk ran out of range a couple of times.
Yeah, new patch, man.
Yeah, that definitely makes a difference right here for DarK, who would have lost like another 2 or 3 Ultras here.
I actually feel like that's one of the most noticeable changes of the patch. That and it's funny because it's like, like it looks so natural as well. It's like, that makes sense. This dog is hunting! Oh my god, Cure! Yeah, well played. That's obviously so dangerous if the neural parasite EMP goes off, right?
We're only at 6 Broodlords, by the way. 6 Broodlords versus 6 Thors is not a bad fight for Terran whatsoever, and I love this. He knows that there's going to be more and more bases mining on the left side of the map as well, and we haven't really seen a lot of aggression in this direction. Drones end up getting sniped. We should be able to continue harassing here for a little bit longer.
Just force DarK to send some units down there as well, right? It's been so much about where DarK wants to fight. Now Cure's like, hey, at least, you know, pay attention to other places and all of that as well. I think that's an important part of this.
Okay, he's going to try and slow push this forward with the Spore Crawlers. Right now, though, we have a little bit of aggression here as well at the third base of the Terran. Maybe not necessarily the most important mining base, but still important as far as the position on the map goes, as DarK is now setting up a surround right here on the right side once again.
Yes, he is, but these soldiers are kind of getting sniped down. He is killing 18 SCVs. That's very important. Yeah, the Ultra on the picture going wild, by the way. He's like, I'm going to do everything. I'm going to burn this orbital down before the Liberator gets me. Important to get rid of SCVs, slow down Q's ability to rebuild. And what's happened as well is that Q has not lost SCVs and been able to replenish the army fully. Because if Q is on like 140, 150 army supply right now, it's like, oh man, is that just the point where he can just push and never stop? But he's at a low work account with not quite that overwhelming army. And I think that's why this game starts to turn more and more in favor of DarK, as he's up in resources as well, banked up already.
Controlling all of these different Zerg units very, very nicely. Trying his best at least to keep all of them alive and get a lot of value out of them.
Okay, this push is good though. Yeah, right? He's gonna get the roots.
There's a lot of Ultras on the back of this, and now he's mixing in a few more Corruptors too, I guess to morph those into Brute Lords, but it's been a mix of both, and even though that can be a little bit tricky here for Kjør to deal with, he's also making both Siege Tanks as well as Thors, so he's not falling for the bait. Have you ever, by the way, seen a Nidus Worm in this game? He made that Nidus Network.
He built it, but he's never used it.
Yeah.
I think it's just so difficult. There's a Sense Tower to the left side of the main, and Kjør's obviously being positioned up the right side, so where do you really go with that?
I like that sensor tower there a lot, actually. That is a funny position, but yeah.
It makes perfect sense.
The
anti-Nidus Worm, right?
Yep. Yeah, only just now, actually. 3-3 coming up as well for DarK.
Yeah, just going into those flyer upgrades, right? So just improving there as Kjør's about to hit +3 vehicle playing. I do worry that, again, DarK's composition is maybe not good for taking a big fight, and as he loses this base especially, the big thing is not necessarily the mining he loses there. He can mine off the bottom left. It's the fact that Kjør gets to mine this new base as well, right? And you saw the mule farm. Kjør's like, I'm not wasting any time at all. Give me those minerals and just try and let me have a bit more to play with here, because it buys him so much more time to then stay in this game compared to what he previously had. Because if that base didn't go up, he was starting to run out of money to rebuild, and DarK was so close to then finishing out.
Yeah, Kjør needs that base really, really badly right now. He has honestly not really had a lot of cash here for, well, the last few minutes, it seems, but he's been holding on. If he can secure this base right here at the top, the one that DarK has been attempting to mine for some time, I think he can actually, really come back into this very smoothly. I mean, it really feels like he's been defending for the entirety of the game, and he's been, like, very close to losing many times. But he's still hanging in there, and DarK has been throwing away such a large amount of units. Can we look at the... Yeah, there you go. The units lost. That difference is massive. So even though DarK is mining way more, sure, he had 3 digits worth of drones earlier, he's just not... Like, even these trades, they're not cost-efficient at all.
Yeah. No, it's expensive, man. Think about how many resources on a base as well. It's like, you're talking about... We're getting to the point where it's almost like a base of resources difference, and... Like I say, if DarK mines out one of Kjør's bases as well, then it's really tough for Kjør to do that. But then one base of difference, it's 100% possible, because Kjør's going to start mining himself here.
Yeah, so one problem you do run into with moves like this, though, as Kjør, is that, well, his natural and his main, where most of his production is located, it's on the other side of the map, right? So he can secure this location, those 2 mining bases that are so important. But now, yeah, DarK can start thinking about potentially harassing the main and the natural instead, and that could trigger a base race.
Oh yeah, no, it absolutely could if you just want to start hitting the other side. And that's why it's important for Kjør to leave some amount of units over there to at least make it expensive for DarK to enter there. Or at least to dissuade him from even committing in, because then DarK's not 100% sure how much lies in wait. That's why more
like he's just casually scratching his face right there, DarK on the camera.
It's one of them games, man, 25 minutes. It's like, one of these games again. First game of the tournament, or first match of the tournament. It's like, man, I'm in for some long days. Bonus for these guys, of course, one of the changes is that they only play 2 best-of-3s a day now. It used to be you sat down and you were there for 5 hours, and that was your tournament. For a lot of these guys, like that was just it. And now it gets spread over a few more days. Kind of like that,
That is a lot of brute lords, though. This time around, a lot more than we saw previously. Now those siege tanks can actually hinder you as well. Blinding clouds, fungal growths. Wouldn't even be surprised to see a parasitic bomb there as well. DarK pushes back that Terran arm.
The Ghost get a few snipes off as mineral income, by the way, favoring Kjør with the triple arrow on the bottom of the screen for a few moments. So some mules are putting in work.
He needs some gas now.
Yes, he does need some gases. Look at the power of the mules, man. Just denying all the income lead that we've had. Kjør's work account itself is actually pretty good compared to before too, right? He's back up to 60.
Oh.
DarK's only at 70, right, as well, so it's also a factor, man, how many workers you have, how big your armies can be, how much you're setting up to rebuild with as the Thor loses out.
I thought at the very least it was going to get one Ultralisk there, but no, not quite. Now he's setting up a static defense around almost, right? That's not something we very frequently see here. But DarK coming in from a slightly different angle. You got to be careful about that concave. There's the abduction. Maybe not as strong as it once was, but still plenty powerful.
I was going to say, I think it's important that Q actually, this base down here he just scanned is one that he keeps some attention to because, again, that's essentially meant to be his base.
Yes.
And DarK's already mined the base similar to that one on his side of the map for a long time because he was even pushing a base further than that, right? The one that Q now owns. So this is mined out. So it's not like Q can be like, oh, I'm just going to own the top of the map. I don't think he can get away with letting DarK mine out this bottom side. And yeah, I mean, as soon as he sees that DarK is seriously trying to mine here, it's a serious commitment because he knows he can't let that position go and, you know...
But splitting up your mech army is so difficult, right? Since DarK can put all of his units in one place if he wants to within like 20 seconds, Cure needs to move for a long time before he grips everything up. At this point, DarK is still split up, and it seems like he's okay with a couple of neural parasites right now coming down as well, as the Thors and the Liberator, they change sides temporarily. Now they're gunning down one another.
Yeah, Thor action here. TVT to a whole new level as we do eventually push this back. I mean, this is also a tough part of what Q is doing when you split that army. It's hard to track where the spellcasters are going to be, right? You're not always able to scan ahead on both locations, so... Again, the kind of initiative is on Q to do something, but DarK has a lot of tools to make that extremely difficult.
Okay, there's the EMPs coming down, though. Can he actually grab those ghosts on the way out? He does get the follow-up fungal as well, and this is getting expensive right here for Cure. He does have some money in the bank. I hope he put those SCVs and those gas guys, those refineries we saw earlier. Because he definitely, he did, okay.
I think DarK's running out of gas mining, by the way.
Yeah.
As Q starts to mine this space, the gas income, it was obviously triple arrows for DarK. Now it was for a moment there, kind of like 1 arrow, now it's back to 2, so maybe DarK's not in too much trouble.
Not yet, anyways.
Not yet, but it is something to keep in mind. If he runs out of gas, then what can you really do with like minerals? It's like Lings, Queens, well, that doesn't trade well enough against this army. To the point where a lot of players even like introducing some Lings at this sort of stage as well, but DarK is kind of doing, right? He's keeping a Ling Bane count up.
Yeah, he knows where this is headed.
Yeah, so you can spend the minerals early so that it's not like, oh, all I can build at the end of the game is Lings. It's like you've already introduced them when they can still be more effective. Yeah,
that's actually a very good point. We've seen that many times in the past where a Zerg ends with 6,000 minerals, but absolutely no gas. And Queens can be pretty good, Zerglings can be pretty good, but they're not going to be amazing at this stage in the game. For counterattacks, though, they can still be very helpful.
Yep. That's a nice little one, as we do have gas to mine here from Kira, and Kira is, you know, without a gas bank, really. So that's something to keep in mind, as this base also has been under heavy attack, just trying to stop these last few workers from mining. Just trying to make, you know, Q pay to basically mine, right? Just trying to get some value.
Oh, fungals as well from the low ground, grabbing a bunch of those ghosts once again. This is obviously a stamina game at this point as well, right? DarK seems to still be very comfortable. Cure is starting to lose and slip up a little bit here and there.
It's going to be seen. I mean, I still feel like that 6 o'clock base is an issue for Q. I mean, look at DarK's bank, right? All of a sudden...
That's where the money is coming from, too.
Yeah, and also that some of these fights have not been as good for Q. We're talking about, what, like 15k now? It's only a 10k resource loss difference. So it's nowhere near as kind of, you know, playable as it was for Q. Like, his army's still very good, but DarK really has a bank now. He's been trading that a little bit better. And it really sets him up to potentially close out this game, too. He is up 1-0.
A little bit of Liberator harassment on that base would be nice to see, right?
He's tried it, though, and the Squirrels just come and deal with it, I think.
What about technical nukes in that direction?
Could be. I wonder if he's just not got the money. Like, he's so low on gas, and, you know, the nuke is a little... It's not expensive for what it can do. But if you just want to, like, spam nukes, it is some... You know, it is a way to, like, give up resources, and maybe if he got, like, the top right bases earlier, we would have seen a little bit of that. Because it's always been a struggle for him to get the next base along, maybe he just doesn't feel like it's quite worthwhile.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. He needs to deal with that base somehow, some way, though, but just in his mind, all he needs to do is max out one time with a huge army, and he may very well be there right now. Does he have enough, though, to kill this entire Zerg force? The brute lord count is so high.
Yeah, it is. Those Thors are actually putting in some good work on the bottom left of your screen.
Oh, the Banelings?
You see the Banes are going to get towards all of the ghosts. Now, Dark Supply drops a lot, but don't forget he has the rebuild and instantly pack up to 200 here. He Nero Parasite to help out against the Thors on the bottom, and we just need a few moments here for DarK to kind of get resettled. I feel like these brutes should keep on moving back, because the Thors, if they hunt them down, can obviously do a lot. This is a big
11 Ultras. How do you feel about the Ultras at this point? There's still so many Thors and Siege Tanks left over.
I actually don't think I like them, right?
No. Like, he needs energy on those Infestors more so than anything.
Maybe the ability to split the Ultras up and around could be very good, and they can overwhelm and they can move, where the Thors are not, but this actually current army of Cure looks very good, but it is kind of the last army. Like, he's more or less out of gas. His mining is obviously very limited, and he's pushing so far into creep that there's going to be a fight here that if Cure wins, DarK will never be able to reinforce again because it'll just get picked off as he builds. And if DarK wins, then he's going to kill absolutely everything. Cure can't afford to rebuild absolutely everything.
No, for sure. So, yeah, Zerglings are still a helpful reinforcing tool in this sort of battle. Cure, I think he needs to march a little bit deeper, right? Anyways, now the Ultras, though, are crashing in on a couple of the reinforcing Terra units as well. That is incredibly helpful right here for DarK. If he buys enough time for more neural parasites, this is going to be a disaster, I think, for the Terran.
The Ultra is obviously something as well where it's like, you mentioned before, the top side of the map is where you're mining, but the bottom side is your production. That's what the Ultras can really punish as well, because if you really do over-defend one, the Ultras can just punish the other. Yeah. And then they're fast enough to get back and fight, where the mech army is not fast enough to really, you know what I mean? So, yeah. Definitely also, DarK's just got so much money. It's really hard to imagine this game doesn't go his way. He has to, basically, Cure has to win one fight with an army that just doesn't die and then just keep going and basically be unkillable. I just think that's a big ask because these ghosts do get decent snipes, but they're out of energy, man, so they don't have the energy to keep on sniping. They deny a base from the bottom side, but DarK is set up with 7k, 3k.
Yeah, you hate to see ghosts dying to the unit they're supposed to counter. Those Ultras kill quite a few of their friends. At least they're going to be able to kill one of them on the way out. The base at the bottom of the map has been dealt with, so that's, I guess, something. Maybe Command can take that position, but yeah, he needs to... the longer he waits, the more Infestor energy there's going to be, right? And Infestors can just buy so much time against his army. DarK is happy to just remax on, well, whatever army he pleases. The only unit we haven't seen, I guess, is Lurkers, but... yeah.
At this point, the Banelings are cool as well, right? Because it's just getting to that stage where the Banelings can be very cost efficient. Kira is not mine. We know 10 workers. Denying this base was great, but then he lost 2 bases in the process. And the moment you try and kind of come back down the bottom, DarK's going to try and long distance mine elsewhere. A few Lings over here are going to be able to get on top of those mules, just denying some of the extra income Kira is trying to grab. And all Kira is really building is a handful of Hellbats because he has no access to gas easily at the moment. So... yeah, what you're adding in is basically not a lot of stuff, and he can barely afford to repair an orbital as well. So DarK is poised, I think, to potentially close this out, but he still needs to take this final fight. 150 versus 150 army supplies. These next few moments will tell us whether Cure can pull off a miracle. Yeah, exactly. Like, the army supply here is still huge for Cure. Maybe the supply count can be a little bit deceiving because of the amount of drones that DarK still has. He seems to be winning all of the small battles, but can he win the war? Because that Terran army is looking dangerous. 14 Infestors, by the way, so if they all get EMP'd, then actually, very easy for Cure to potentially swing this fight. But if these Infestors just come a couple at a time and do stuff like this is exactly where you can do very well, and you more or less kill a Thor, very low HP. I mean, again, Cure can't exactly afford to repair, so for once, actually damaging the Terran units is really, seriously, 100% guaranteed damage. Yes. Viper's also happy to accumulate a little bit of energy once again. Keep in mind, there's a huge Zerg force on the back of this as well, hiding on the left side of the screen. I wouldn't mind seeing a split on those Infestors, though, because that is like the only thing that could really bother him here. Yeah, I honestly think the only way you win is you EMP every Infestor, and then without any spellcasting, like, the army of DarK does kind of just fall over, but the spellcasters are the powerhouse, and as long as they are active, you can just see what they can do. They basically held off this entire army thus far, and you just did it with a few Infestors and, Vipers, and they're getting their energy back to go again, and then these Ultras are going to come down the right side. And I love how he still has those units out there. He's like, yep, I don't need my entire army for this battle. That would be insane. Just trying to buy as much time here, using those spellcasters and those brutes. Now finally the ghosts do get the snipes in, but that also triggers those Banelings to start rolling through. Neural Parasites? Yep, that's going to be the next move right here for DarK, as he takes control of the entirety of that Terran army, and that is going to be all she wrote right here. Game number 1. Yes, it is. Well, match number 2. Match number 1. Yeah. DarK going to get a 2-0 against his teammate here, and he is going to start off Katowice. He is one of the favorites coming into this tournament, and he shows us why. A couple of games that had a bit of adversity for him, perhaps early on, and a lot of Terran pressure. He really stood strong throughout all of that.
Yeah, he's looking incredible.
Yeah, and just comes out on the other side. I mean, you look at him in this late game, it's like, man, Q had some good positions. He had some good chances to push forward. He got the bases he kind of needed to stay in the game a long time.
This is the get out of my game neural.
Get out of here. Neural absolutely everything possible. DarK picks up a 2-0 start off his career here in the Katowice.